Greetings, students. Welcome back to Chapter 6, Keywords and Concepts. So we previously learned about classical condition. That would be Pavlov and his dogs, right? The dogs already had a response to the food. This is important. The dogs already had a response to the food that he then used to manipulate their behavior, right? That is different than operant conditioning. Operant condition is where organisms learn to associate a behavior and its consequence. That association did not already exist like it did in classical conditioning, right? So a pleasant consequences makes that behavior more likely to be repeated in the future, right? So if you learn to associate a behavior with a good thing, you're going to keep doing it. If you learn to associate a behavior with a bad thing, you're probably going to stop doing it. Operant conditioning in a nutshell. Now, let's talk about B.F. Skinner and his Skinner box. Now, B.F. Skinner saw Pavlov's experiments and thought, I think we're missing some stuff. I think we're missing some stuff about motivation and learning. And he believed that behavior is motivated by the consequences we receive for our behavior, as any school child knows, right? You're going to obey your parents because you don't want to get punished. The reinforcements and the punishment. So what he did to test this was he created something called a Skinner box that was developed for animal testing, specifically for rats. So in the Skinner box, there's a drawing in your textbook. He could set it up so that a rat going through a maze could either be rewarded with a shock, or rewarded with food, or punished with a shock. And he figured out using that guess what? People, or rats, I guess in this instance, are more likely to learn positively if they get reinforcement. So basically, they were more likely to learn that maze quickly if they received a treat at the end of the maze than if they received a punishment for not getting the maze right. Okay, so it's important that we understand the difference between Pavlov and classical conditioning and Skinner and operant conditioning, right? Classical conditioning is manipulating something that already exists. So in the case of little Albert, all human beings have fear, right? So they manipulated his fear. In the case of Pavlov's dogs, the salivation over food, right? We're all going to salivate over food. Manipulate. Whereas in operant conditioning, you're creating a new behavior out of whole cloth. This behavior did not exist before in this context. Okay, so that's the difference between operant conditioning and classical conditioning. All right, I'll see you in the next video.